Ebola is one of the deadliest viruses known to man, and there is still no approved treatment or vaccine. Switzerland's medical authorities, Swissmedic, have approved 2 vaccines for testing. The first trials started at Lausanne University Hospital at the end of October in around 120 healthy individuals. The vaccine was developed by pharma giant GlaxoSmithKline and the US National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. In early November, Swissmedic approved a second trial for an experimental vaccine developed by scientists at Canada's Public Health Agency. This trial will involve up to 115 individuals at Geneva University Hospital. Any hopes of containing the epidemic could lie in one of these vaccines, but time is short, with thousands already affected. At the University of Zurich's Virology Institute, Lars Hangartner is following the developments in Lausanne and Geneva with great interest. Even though vaccination does not pose a threat of developing into a fully fledged Ebola infection, such trials always carry a risk of side effects.
These certainly pose a considerable risk. The people involved are also informed on the potential side effects that could occur, and of course they're compensated for their services.
Hangartner and his staff are aware of the complexity of producing a new vaccine. In the case of Ebola, the procedure is particularly difficult as the virus is not brought under control by conventional methods.
Compared with most other vaccines for viral diseases, Ebola is more difficult to bring under control with antibodies. That's the biggest obstacle. This means that the vaccine has to be more complex than, say, that of common viral diseases or flu.
Both vaccines under trial consist of a harmless virus that has been engineered to carry a protein from the Ebola virus. In Lausanne, a harmless monkey virus is being used, into which genetic material from 2 strains of Ebola have been inserted. Once such a virus infects and spreads through a cell in the body, it triggers immune system cells to gather and produce antibodies in response to the Ebola protein. If the vaccine works as it should, once a real Ebola virus enters the system, the antibodies that the vaccine has produced render the virus harmless. With Ebola to activate the protection of antibodies, an additional killer cell needs to be deployed. The big question is whether such a vaccine would actually work on humans. It's a question that troubles Christoph Hatz of the Swiss Tropical Institute. His organisation is monitoring both clinical trials in Geneva and Lausanne. For one thing, these tests are running under special conditions.
The biggest difference with other experimental trials is the time factor. In this case, all the steps need to be completed in a much shorter time frame. What would normally take years needs to be done in 6 months.
In the classical development of vaccines, tests are carried out on humans only after lengthy testing on animals. After this first phase, a vaccine is then tested on small groups of healthy volunteers before undergoing trials on a large number of subjects over a period of many years. Only then is it ready for market approval. The development of the Ebola vaccine has been fast-tracked. Different phases overlap and are being compressed into a few months. Whether the vaccine will ever be tested on groups of more than 1,000 people remains to be seen. Speeding up protocols has its shortcomings.
Bei Affen, also bei den Makaken, wo das ursprünglich eingesetzt worden ist, das sind damals.
In the original tests in monkeys, 4 vaccinated animals were fully protected within a few days. However, after a few weeks, the vaccine was no longer effective. Some of the animals became ill and also died of the disease. So we know that the vaccine has an effect, but we don't know to what extent it's effective on humans.
Aber ob das jetzt beim Mensch gleich wirkt, das weiß man nicht.
It's not only a question of effectiveness, but also of dosage. There are questions that need to be resolved.
At this stage, the goal is to see if the vaccine's effects endure. Later, with a larger field test, it would be a case of seeing if the vaccine is actually effective and if it can actually protect against the disease.
In other cases where the trials have been conducted on healthy patients, no major side effects to the 2 vaccines have been detected. The hope is that this will be the case in Lausanne and Geneva too.